Welcome to another episode of Business Blaze. Have you guys heard of patent medicines? These are like these 18th century, 19th century concoctions that people made saying they'd cure all of these weird diseases. Or not weird diseases, but weirdly written diseases. We did a top 10s video, which is another channel I do, linked to below. And it was like, there was a patent medicine that said it cured the cancer. I wanted to know more about these. I had Danny write us up a script. So let's learn together the 5 crazy 19th century patent medicine claims. A trip to a modern-day chemist is hardly the most exciting experience in the world. You step into a white, cold, sterile environment, packed with endless shelves of identical-looking drugs and remedies, which have all rather boringly been approved by official regulatory agencies. Yeah, rather boringly, but also, for your important sense of safety and health and, not just taking a random shit. Usually you'll try to hide from anyone you know as you browse the aisle for deeply embarrassing illnesses. Ah yes, where is anal prolapsin? That's a reference to an old video. If anyone got that, congratulations. There's usually very little room for a pool table or a pinball machine. Alright then. But back in the 19th century, seeking out the latest remedy for your ailments was much more of a thrilling joyride into the unknown. I feel like, situations where I like a thrilling joyride. The racetrack, roller coasters. Not the pharmacy. I wonder what this will do to me. 1850 to 1900 saw the peak of the patent medicine craze, particularly in America and England, where door-to-door salesmen and traveling fairs would happily peddle their latest cure-all concoctions. The phrase patent medicine may sound quite official, and it does have quite official origins. It dates back to the 17th century, when producers of medicinal elixirs who found favor with the English crown were issued letters patent, allowing royal endorsement to be used in advertising. Oh no, it's like, yeah, cures the cancer, approved by the king. We still have this in the UK. The Queen puts her seal on things. Like, I think Marks and Spencer's might have like the royal seal, and you get like other biscuits and I guess they're better. I don't know. The Queen's probably really fussy. She is quite rich. However, by the 19th century, the phrase was pretty meaningless and didn't refer to any official approval. Patent medicines instead just referred to any old shit that could be sold by any snake oil salesman without having any of that pesky modern red tape to determine whether this stuff might kill you or not. I do feel like, yeah, of course, the medicine industry is super well regulated, but I'm not sure if this is correct, but can't you just say like, yeah, it's a supplement and throw it on the shelves and it doesn't have to go through any regulatory approval? Which seems a little bit insane. Supplement industry does seem a little bit dodgy, doesn't it? Do you think in like 2150 we'll be looking back and be like, yeah, you could buy like pills in the supermarket that had no regulatory approval, they did nothing, but they cost like £14 for 10. The rise in their popularity largely stemmed from deep public mistrust of contemporary medical practices, which admittedly were going through a funny phase at the time, favouring bloodletting as the universal cure for everything from backache to heartbreak. Like, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me. Cut his arm open, boys. It's perhaps not too surprising that patients were seeking out simpler and less dramatic alternatives that came packaged in a nice bottle. Patent medicines were often stuffed with the famous healing properties of cocaine, opium, alcohol, laxatives, and most shockingly of all, vegetables. I feel like it's like, yeah, cocaine, opium, alcohol. And it's like, oh, laxatives. Although I guess that would help if you're like all stuck up from the opium. Yeah, I'll stick with the cocaine. Ask your doctor about cocaine. But did they ever really work? And what were they supposed to cure? Here are 6 of some of the more bizarre and outrageous claims from the golden age of quackery. Circus Indian oil. It's even got like a exotic name. The story of William Henry Hartley is a good place to start, as it illustrates how patent medicines were often sold and lapped up by an awestruck public at the back end of the 19th century. Hartley was the ringmaster of the Circus medicine company, which was effectively a Wild West-themed circus that rolled into your town to provide entertainment, music, seances, and live teeth extractions. Where do I not go for entertainment? Number 2, the post office. Number 1, dentist, right? Don't forget that this was in the days long before telly, yeah, the desperate days. Hartley himself was an eccentric Buffalo Bill type character who hosted all of this fabulous live entertainment and wowed the crowds with his Wild West patter, or at least that was his persona. Hartley was actually a Yorkshire man born and bred. My nan's from Yorkshire. I could not imagine a less Buffalo Bill type people. But he put on this flamboyant act to help convince the audience that he himself had personally discovered his company's range of healing oils, which were supposedly based on North American traditions during his rooted-tooted adventure of the wild frontier. in Yorkshire. There's not a Yorkshire in the States, right? We are talking about Yorkshire, UK, like up north. He was also a dentist, and part of the show involved inviting audience members up to the stage to have their troublesome teeth extracted for free, usually with a brass band playing loudly in the background to drown out the screams. Oh my god. But the whole point of the circus was the climax of the show, in which Hartley would hype up the incredible healing properties of Circus Indian oil and Circus prairie flower. Dodgy audience members with limps and crutches would bravely hobble up to the stage to receive a rigorous rubbing of Circus Indian oil and then bounce back down to the crowd like a miraculously restored athlete. I guess this was the early days of this scam, because I think these days, like the Jesus will heal you. Yeah, that's fake. Hartley claimed that his oils could cure joint pains, liver disorders, stomach issues, dysentery, and all internal pains. I hope it contains morphine. The audiences couldn't get enough of it, and supply never quite met the fierce demand. But later analysis of Circus oils revealed that they contained nothing more than organic material from the East Indies and cheap fish oil cut with turpentine. Ultimately, his products were harmless, but completely ineffective on any medical level. Still, you can't complain at the free tooth pulling. Actually, I could. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. Tragically, not all patent medicines were harmless, but ineffective. Some of them were downright lethal. Oh god, this is going to get depressing, isn't it? Marketed throughout North America and the UK, millions of bottles of Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup were sold to unwitting parents who were drawn in by the reassuringly warm and fuzzy advertisements depicting a nanny spoon-feeding the syrup to a tooth-troubled little baby. The mother's friends for teething children was often seen as a general cure-all wonder treatment for babies, and also claimed to cure coughs, liver disease, and even cancer. But all the ingredients of this mixture were nothing short of horrifying. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup was largely just a cocktail of morphine and alcohol, and even just a teaspoonful of the stuff had the potential to kill a child who had been complaining of toothache. Concerned parents of the age would have just been better off taking their kids to William Henry Hartley's traveling Wild West Circus to have their teeth extracted for free by a Yorkshireman who pretends to be Buffalo Bill. Exactly how many children died from consuming this poison will never be known, as infant mortality was high anyway in the Victorian age, and few parents would have ever admitted to using it. How did you get your child to stop crying? Oh, morphine and coke. Yeah, cocaine. But the most alarming point to consider is just how long the syrup stayed on the market. First commercially produced in 1849, it was much later revealed to be a baby killer. In 1911, in an American medical journal. Oh my god, this is not good for marketing, is it? Ask your doctor about Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup for all troubled toothache needs. And they have that long list of side effects at the end. Side effects may kill your baby. It wasn't officially withdrawn from sale until 1930, so that's 20 years after it was labeled a baby killer. On a similar note, cocaine tooth drops were incredibly popular with parents and children alike. I bet they were, but are unlikely to be approved by today's medical authorities. Apparently, the drops would not only numb the pain of a toothache, but it would also help put your children in a better mood. You bet it would. The illustrations on the packaging depicted two sweet, innocent children playing with sticks in the garden, completely off their heads on coke. It was a different time. A better time. Obesity bath powder. On a brighter note, patent medicines weren't all bad news. Yes, it may have left a dark legacy of thousands of avoidable deaths, but it also laid down many of the foundations of modern marketing. Worth it. I don't just mean the term snake oil salesman, now used to describe deceptive marketing, although traditional Chinese medicines really did include fat extracted from the Chinese water snake. The stuff sold by 19th century cracks, though, it was just herbs, minerals, and spices with zero snake-based content. That's disappointing. I mean that patent medicine products also effectively helped to create the modern advertising industry. They were among the very first products to adopt distinctive trademarks and packaging, the first products to embrace the strategies of newspaper campaigns, free mail samples, and promotional trinkets. Like, free samples on a different level. What's in this one? Morphine. Woohoo! And promotional trinkets, and the first products to use dodgy testimonials and endorsements from famous celebrities of the era. Obesity bath powder was one such product that received all the promotional whistles and bells and duped millions of customers into believing that dropping a few sprinkles of powder into a hot bath would lead them all to shed excess pounds in no time. Did it work? Of course it didn't. That's not me ad-libbing. That's in the script. The powder was mostly just perfumed sodium carbonate, which probably felt quite nice to the skin, but sadly it fell short on its claims to make you thin. But still, it sold in the bucket loads for several decades and could definitely be considered a very slippery triumph of early product marketing. Next up, Dr. Fuller's electrospiral magnetic vegetable vapor cure. Oh my god. Vegetable vapor cure. Vape Nation! Just a very quick mention for this one, mainly because it's one of the most mind-blowingly brilliant names for a product that I've ever come across. Despite several minutes of intense research, at my end, it's been difficult to dig up anything very valuable on the product itself. The National Museum of American History reports that the product was on sale between 1888 and 1906. The instructions on the packaging read, uncork bottle and inhale vapor until the head is clear. The effect is magical, giving instant relief, price $1. My alternative for this would be like open up a packet of crisps like cheese and onion. Get it really good. And we could perhaps assume that the vapor included some sort of vegetable which had been electrospiral magnetized. Whether the vapors of an electrospiral magnetized vegetable really did provide magical $1 relief remains about as unclear as your head would be after sniffing the stuff for hours on end. You're probably a bit better off just eating a real vegetable. Or just use the cocaine drops. Pink pills for pale people. A very early example of celebrity endorsement helping to shift units. Pink pills for pale people was one of the big success stories of the 19th and 20th century. Reverend Eunuch Hill of the ME Church of Grand Junction in Iowa may not be quite the same celebrity image as, say, Beyonce or Simon Whistler. If anyone wants me to endorse a product, hit me up. I will sell it. I'll even endorse this. Like Hulk Hogan, he endorsed everything. But his status at the time added weight to his glowing recommendation of these pills in hundreds of newspaper advertisements. Unlike most 19th century patent medicines which found little interest outside of America and England, pink pills for pale people ended up getting sold in no less than 87 countries around the world, helped along by the fact that it was largely targeted at British colonials. That's like a good way to get your product spread out to the world. Give it to the people taking over the world. The pills claimed to help cure anemia and put some colour into the pasty white faces, but they also claimed to cure cholera, partial paralysis, and tense nervous headaches. I feel like surely that could be disproved pretty fast. It's like, how long have you been in a wheelchair? 20 years. Pills not helping? No. They were generally seen as an essential piece of kit for the white man abroad. I love this. Essential piece of kit for the white man. Like, you know, big long gun, maybe a cream jacket, cream hat, slavery mindset, and pink pills for pale people. In truth, they were mostly just iron oxide and magnesium sulfate topped with a nice bit of pink sugar coating. So the good news is they weren't going to kill you, but they weren't going to do anything particularly useful either. In fact, a report in 1909 British Medical Journal concluded that the pills had been very carelessly prepared. What a shocker. However, that didn't stop pink pills for pale people from selling in their squillions around the globe, and making the guy who owned the rights to them, Canadian businessman George Taylor Fulford, a millionaire. Although the recipe changed from time to time over the years, at one point they threw in some laxative to give the pills a bit of extra bite, pink pills for pale people remained on sale for an extraordinary amount of time, extending far beyond the patent medicine era. They weren't officially withdrawn from sale until 1970? I feel like colonialism was pretty much done by 1970. Meanwhile, millionaire George Taylor Fulford ended up in the history books for a very different reason. Tragically struck down by a streetcar in 1905, he became Canada's very first automobile death statistic. And no amount of pink pills for pale people was ever helping to get over that. This has been Business Blaze. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.